Learning is a very vulnerable action. We are asking our students to be vulnerable almost every second of the day. Because in order to learn, you have to admit that you don't know something, and that's really scary. When we have students who are already marginalized, they are coming in at a disadvantage of vulnerability. They are in a new space, they have to admit they don't know something, and their identity might not be represented or acknowledged. It really is just good teaching practices. Like, you need to be able to foster a classroom where students feel safe so that they can learn. And sometimes that means that you spend a little bit more time getting to know your students, you spend a little bit more time working on like community building instead of a content. But then the content is so much more important because kids aren't overcoming things that are already standing in their way of learning.
I think what's great about WT is that we don't shy away from these conversations. We are really thoughtful about making sure that our kids have the space and time to talk about these subjects, even when it's us looking at ourselves and saying, maybe we need to do better. I think that it's great to have that space as a teacher where we can feel comfortable and supported by our administration to have these conversations and to make sure that students feel like they can come to school as their authentic selves. So we start with a lot of books. Pretty much all of our lessons will start with a book, and the students really just react to that book. They have questions and we answer them as much as possible on the developmentally appropriate side, and we try to make sure that that they're learning about other perspectives. Younger kids tend to be very egocentric and they're only thinking about themselves and what they think and see, but as they get older they can start to branch out and learn more about the world around them, and it's our job to kind of help them make that jump.
I teach a class called Machine Learning and the Social Implications of AI. I co-teach it with a teacher, Dr. Naragon, in the history department. And in that course, it's really not just about learning to program algorithms for machine learning, which is basically causing predictive choices to be made based upon data, but also having students take a critical eye as to what these algorithms are doing in their daily lives. One example of how machine learning is used is the court systems now are playing with the idea of perhaps having an unbiased system that could take a look at a particular criminal and say whether or not they're likely to reoffend. And machine learning algorithms have decided to make an unbiased approach, they claim, at that and see if they can decide whether or not a person will commit a crime. Unfortunately, if the students don't understand that the data that's steeped into those algorithms might actually be biased itself, they can't be critical of that. As we build future lawmakers or future politicians, future journalists, we have to make sure that our students are well informed so that they can be critical of the technology that's sort of going to be ruling our worlds in the future.
My perception of what Winchester was and is as an 11-year-old child to seeing what it is now, being not 11, is something that is great to see, because I can honestly say I've been a part of being able to view the growth that once seemed impossible to now that is not only being implemented but being challenged to be pushed forward to creating a larger impact and moving on to the next stages is something that's really special, and I'm happy that I'm here to be a part of that. The ability to put the mirror up, and if you don't recognize something is going on, something might have went wrong, then you're never able to actually address it, whether it be in-house, whether it be at large government size. And so for us to be vulnerable enough to take a deeper dive internally of where we're at, growth areas that we need to address, and then bringing in the correct resources, hiring great people who are dedicated to doing this work, making sure that the culture is inclusive and it's filled with people who want to get to a thriving mode is something that we're doing really good work with, and something that I believe is going to continue to help Winchester be a forefront and leader in not only the independent schools, but in secondary education overall.
I was thinking about that question, and I don't think it's important. I actually think it's essential. I mean, I can't think of anything else that we as a school need to do, because we talk about how important it is to help our students become global citizens of the world. And through learning about the perspectives and experiences of others and different identities, students are then able to really go out into the world with a very solid background. I think the only way that this can happen is really not to teach children what to think, but to teach them how to think. So by giving them opportunities where they can see a variety of perspectives, and for me, because I teach English, that's a wonderful opportunity through literature for me to do some of that reading where we're looking at social justice work and identifiers of different backgrounds than ourselves. And by doing that, we're able to understand, what makes it important and how we can go out into the world after we leave Winchester.